Hi, this is Patrick Rooney from Old School. Did not expect to be doing a live stream tonight or any kind of video tonight. Uh, Sunday is basically an off day. But I needed to get on here and tell you some things. Um, as you know, we've been doing a what do we call that? How to pray to God series. That was Martin Francis's title, and we've been doing them the last couple of weeks. We weren't doing one today. I didn't necessarily, I kind of called these guys and we talked about this, and I didn't necessarily see the need to keep doing these. Although I did get a good call. I talked to a good friend last night who said that she watched the last one and really got a lot out of it, really enjoyed it. Maybe some of you are as well. But I did not expect to be doing this tonight whatsoever. And again, I didn't. We tried to show you guys basically kind of like the mechanics of some of the prayer that we do. Myself and Martin and Fabian Asensio were on here, and we do a prayer that's called "Be Still and Know." We've been doing it for many years, actually decades, really. Off and on, I had been doing another type of prayer. From my ex-friend, her old friend and old ex-friend, Jesse Lee Peterson. And he does something called a silent prayer. I don't want to get into the details of that, but it's a little bit different. He used to do the Roy Masters type of prayer pretty much exactly. He was promoting it for a long time, until Roy Masters apparently told him not to do that anymore. So he stopped doing that, and then he created his own prayer. The point is, and I was doing Jesse's prayer for a certain period of time. The point is, what I found out was that prayer for me, and it apparently has worked for other people, so I'm not here to knock the prayer, but for me and for some others, it just didn't have the same impact. And so therefore, I basically went back to the prayer that I had been doing long ago. I was in prayer today, and what I do with the Be Still and Know prayer from the Roy Masters version that I learned, it is available. I don't have all the links here today. I'm doing a kind of a low bells and whistles show, just kind of like they used to call it MTV Unplugged, where there's not a lot going on. I'm not wearing my earphones. I don't have a microphone. I usually don't use a microphone on the live streams anyway, but I'm just kind of doing this thing raw. And well, I called Martin today. I went into prayer today, this afternoon, and I discovered something very interesting. And so I called Martin and I said, do you guys want to do a live stream? And he was going into a movie, so he couldn't do it. He wouldn't be available for a few hours. And we talked about maybe delaying it or whatnot. And then I thought about bringing some other people on. And then I realized, you know what? There's something I just need to tell you guys. I'm kind of using these other guys as a crutch, and I don't really need that to use them as a crutch right now, because it's something that I need to explain to you. It's something that I discovered, and I really need to explain to you directly here. So here's the deal. What I've noticed about the Be Still and Know prayer, and again, you can go and find this on FHU. .com. I believe it's FHU.com, Foundation of Human Understanding website. They do have this on their website. You can also go on YouTube and find this. Go check the 7-minute meditation. I believe it's called 7-minute meditation by Roy Masters. Just put the words in and you will find it. That's a basic prayer that I do. And the interesting thing is I keep coming back to it. And I don't necessarily want to come back to it. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of a technical thing in it. And I always have in the back of my mind, it's going to put people off, or it's too complicated or something like that. Every time I do it, I tend to move away from it. It has to do with having your hands together, your fingertips together, your palms pretty close. And you could be sitting, Roy Masters used to talk about having people sit in a straight back chair and do this. And therefore, I'm just going to show you this on camera here. But basically, if you were sitting in a chair, You may even have your hands like this, kind of down in your lap. I don't believe you need to keep your hands up in the old school prayer style. You may even have your hands kind of resting, on your leg. Basically, your legs are up. I'm sitting in a chair as if I don't want to move the camera right now, but you could even have them kind of down like this, down like so. And I don't think that's a problem. That's the way I do it quite a bit. Other people may do it a different way, but the point is, when you're doing the prayer, you have your hands together and very lightly your palms touching, and you close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, you're kind of just looking straight out. You're not looking anywhere. You're not looking up or anything like that. So, some people say, Martin has said, and other people have said, kind of be aware of the center of your forehead. I've heard people say that, and that means something. I mean, there is a gland there that supposedly is kind of like the portal. Nobody knows what the reason for that gland is, but it may be the portal for light to come into the human body. I've heard that before. It makes sense to me. In any case, you are closing your eyes and your fingertips are lightly touching, and you're kind of just looking straight forward, but you're being aware of your forehead area. And as you're doing that, to keep things real simple here, I don't get super into looking for thoughts. Ideally, you're objective to thoughts and you're watching your thoughts go by and things of that nature. But really, that always kind of complicated it for me. I'm just going to tell you what works for me. Yes, being objective to your thoughts is nice and an important part of prayer. But so is, as I call it, the infilling of the Spirit, I think is the really key part to prayer. And being in the moment, not just looking at thoughts, but actually being here in the moment with God, with the Holy Spirit. That's what it's really all about with prayer. And other people I've talked to my son about this. He doesn't do this prayer exactly the same way. He kind of has his own way of doing it. It works for him. Other things may work for other people. I can't tell you what is going to work for you and what is not going to work. I can give you a basic set of instructions and you can do it. And I've talked to my friend Robert. I was going to bring him on because it doesn't work for him. He told me it doesn't really work for him. I don't know what to say about that, guys. I can't. All I can tell you is what works for me, and perhaps it will work for a percentage of you. I can't promise it's going to work for everyone. What do I mean by work? I mean being in the moment, feeling an infilling of life that is coming to you through your fingertips, and feeling light, even sometimes seeing light. At all times when I'm praying, I almost always at least have a sense that there is some light inside my forehead, as if someone's got a little flashlight in there. Not a huge light or anything like that. Although there have been times in my life that I have had what they call white light experiences, where I have basically just lit up inside at times, especially early on when I first learned how to pray. And then other times along the way, I've had experience where I lit up. I don't want to make this about, tricks or, lights and flashing things. It's about your connection with God. But the reason I came on today is because every time I start to do this prayer, and the prayer involves, closing your eyes, having your fingertips lightly together, your palms can be fairly close together. And I'm watching, and I keep coming back to the moment, the seeing what's in front of me, seeing the whatever I see. It may be little sparkles of lights, maybe nothing, maybe a little bit of light, and then feeling my connection to my Creator. And just noticing that, especially at the same time. When you think of one thing, it tends to be called concentration. But when you're aware of more than one thing, and it may be your forehead and your hands to start with, and perhaps it goes to your whole body after that. It may go to other areas like your pit of your stomach. But it is at that point, it's not really concentration. It's more like observation, because you're being aware of things and you're being aware of what's going on around you. I can hear a dog barking right now. That's a certain awareness. This is kind of an anchor to the present. And so when I'm in this, the way that Roy Masters would teach it would be, you would essentially you would feel to keep yourself in the moment. That's what he would say. Because if you just do this alone, which you can do, and some people it works really great for, but if you only do this, you may be more likely to kind of get into your head and get into daydreams. And you could, as I said last show, you may get into a daydream that lasts, 15 minutes before you come back to being in the prayer again. And so it's a little bit of a kind of a, I don't know, trick. I hate to use the word trick, but it's something that kind of keeps you, I can't think of the word here, but it's something that keeps you in the moment. So what he talked about was noticing your fingertips one by one. For instance, your thumb, as you're doing these other things, you're kind of looking straight out, you're noticing your forehead, you're noticing the warmth in your hand. And as you're doing that, in order to keep yourself in the moment, you start to go from finger to finger. You start to, like my thumb, I start to feel my thumb, just my thumbs. As I look out, as I'm looking out with my eyes shut, I'm noticing my thumbs. And just do that until they tingle. Use the word tingle, which is a good word. They kind of tingle. I'm not talking about just blood flowing. I'm talking about there's something else going on there. It's an electrical current. I'm going to use it for lack of a better word. It's like maybe a slight electrical current. You might not feel it at all, but you might feel it a little bit. And you feel that current there, that little current, and then you go to your fingers. You're not moving your fingers. I'm just doing that for the purpose of this, of this presentation. Let me go to kind of this from here so you see a little bit better. And then I'm going to the middle finger. And again, you see that, that finger there. I'm not moving it in prayer. I'm just showing you. And then my attention, you're just shifting attention from one finger and then feeling like I've got the ring finger now and kind of feeling that connection there. Once I feel that tingle, I move on and I go to the pinkies. And then I go back to the thumbs, right? Kind of like in a circular way. And so I feel the thumbs as I'm looking forward with my eyes shut. Then I'm feeling the first finger, this index finger, the middle fingers. Not trying to give anyone the middle finger here. The ring fingers and the pinky and so on. Okay. Something in me did not want to show you guys this and teach you this because to me, in my rational mind, you might say it seems kind of, I don't know. I want to do something that's mainstream. Okay. I want to do something that maybe this is just me wanting to be liked or accepted or something like that. I'd love to get on here and do something very mainstream. I would love to do a worded prayer. I could do the Our Father or any kind of worded prayer. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic Church. We had lots of prayers. I would love to just show you something very simple, simpler than what I'm showing you. I would love to keep this as standard as possible. This is, to me, clearly a Christian way of bringing yourself and getting in touch with the Holy Spirit. To me, it's totally Christian. But for other people, they may see it and say, wow, that doesn't look Christian to me. Where's the words? What's this finger thing? I never see this in the Bible. I can't answer all the questions about that. I don't know why this particular prayer is not shown in the Bible. On the other hand, there's a lot of things that are not in the Bible. There are a number of stories about Jesus, his apostles, the prophets, and all these people in the Bible. They're great stories. I love the Bible. I read a little bit of the Bible almost every day. It's beautiful. And there's straight truth in there. But I wouldn't call it the whole truth. There are things that are not in there. There are things that happened, at the time of the flood, where people started eating meat all of a sudden. We were supposed to eat, veggies and fruit or whatever was in the garden, except for that one tree. Don't mess with the one tree. But at some point, people were allowed to eat meat and things like that. And all of a sudden there were changes and things like that. So the Bible doesn't have every single thing in it. Perhaps the Bible at one time did have something more specific about prayer. I also said last week that I couldn't necessarily picture even Jesus praying like this. And I'm showing you something that even Jesus maybe didn't do. I think that Jesus did. I was watching a movie, I think it was a Mel Gibson movie, where he showed Jesus kind of sitting in kind of almost like a lotus position and praying. It looked like he was meditating. I think it was a Mel Gibson movie, if I'm not mistaken. And I did definitely picture Jesus meditating to God. The Bible says pray unceasingly. If you go around and pray with your mind unceasingly, with words unceasingly, it would be kind of crazy. Be walking around all day praying. You can't. You got to work. You got to do stuff. You absolutely cannot walk around all day in worded prayer. It's impossible. Well, it's possible, I guess, but you wouldn't be able to get anything else done. You wouldn't work. You wouldn't hold a job. The apostles had jobs, like Paul was a tent maker. He didn't go around praying with words all day long, I guarantee you, and neither did Jesus. So there's things that are not, completely in the Bible. It doesn't have everything. It just doesn't. Again, I wish this was a little simpler. I wish it looked cooler. I wish it was whatever. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to telling you guys again what I learned today, and I didn't quite say it yet. So when we're in prayer, we're doing the meditation, the Be Still meditation, Be Still and Know meditation. Again, go to FHU.com or go to 7-Minute Meditation, Roy Masters, and you will find it. And there's a way that he shows it at first, having to do with having your hand kind of down by your side. It's a way that he shows you to begin with. Even the 7-minute Be Still and Know meditation the 7-minute meditation does not show you exactly putting the fingers together. Roy Masters had a set of 3 back in the day, way back before my time. He had a set of 3 albums. Remember the albums in the old days? Some of the older people like me would remember what an album is, right? The 33, what do they call it? 33 speed, the big album, vinyl. I think they're coming back again. And then after that, he had a meditation that he did later. He put it on cassette. I used to have a cassette tape of that, and later he did it. Now it's online and things like that. The point is, there were basically 3 different prayers. The first one had to do with holding your hand down and just feeling the finger by itself, like the right hand, and feeling you'd hold it down by your side, and you'd feel you do everything I'm talking about. You would kind of look out with your eyes closed, and you would feel each finger in turn, right, till you felt a little something there, a little maybe slight tinge, and then you would go on to the next finger and the next finger. Well, that was the first one, and then there was another one he used to teach, which I thought was hypnotic, and I didn't like it at all. Some people think it's a necessary step. It's not a necessary step, by the way. I'm just going to tell you right now, in my opinion, it's not a necessary step. But they still have that as part of the package of meditation. It's not something I don't agree with personally. Okay, I'm just saying I love those guys over there at the FHU, but I don't agree with the first step to this. Putting your fingers down and holding your hands by your side was like the second step. And I understand that very well, but actually if you do that step, you will notice a need to go to a third step, because when you're doing this, my eyes are closed and I'm feeling my hand by its side, and I'm going from one finger to another, kind of keeping myself in the moment. You kind of notice that there's light inside your head, but it's not taking up the whole area there. Whereas when you put your fingers together, you've got kind of both hemispheres going on, and you've got light in your whole area, and it's balanced. That's the one I recommend, is that you get to that place at some point where you're actually doing this in a prayer-like fashion with your fingers together. This is something I didn't like about Jesse, my ex-friend Jesse's, he called silent prayer, is he had his hands out. on his lap, let's say, just putting your hands out, kind of like Buddhists do or other people. And again, it may work for certain people. And I will tell you that when I first learned to pray as a child, it was just very natural. And in that prayer, I was simply laying in my bed, my eyes were closed, and all of a sudden I started to just pray wordlessly to God. I believe God sets it up that way very simply for young people to connect with him. And I did, and I know many other people who also did connect that in that way. And it's beautiful, and it was beautiful. And sometimes I do that to this day. Fabian found out that I'm on today. Fabian, all right. Fabian made it. I'm going to even post his thank you, Fabian. I'm glad that you're watching. And I didn't call you tonight because we just decided not to do a whole thing. I was going to show you guys something that I just discovered tonight, and I need to just come on and talk about it. Hello, Fabian. So he said the main thing is getting separate from the intellect, right? Yes, it is. And staying separate from it. I'm going to tell you something that I have found in this meditation. Maybe others have. And this is really why I came on. I'm not trying to tease this thing. I just took a little while and maybe setting a, kind of laying out a groundwork before I got to this. But here it is. And again, I didn't even want to say this because it seems like I'm talking about a circus trick or something. But what I found is when I was praying today, and I've found every time I do this prayer that Roy Masters lays out, I always kind of re-simplify it back to the way it used to be when I was a kid. But in the re-simplification, I don't know why. Perhaps because I'm no longer innocent when I was a kid. I have reached a point of being, corrupted by the world. And some of you read my blog, oldschoolus.com. I've talked in detail about my corruption and my being involved with corruption in different forms, starting with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Those were the early ones. I talked later about being corrupted in a sexual situation that lasted a long time, all those things. But the point is, once I became corrupted, it just may be that I needed an extra jolt to get back to God or to feel in touch with the Holy Spirit. So when I would do this prayer, and I wouldn't include the finger, feeling one finger and kind of having that, I always forget the word that I'm trying to find, but that little connection, that little bit of almost like a slight electrical current is the best way I can describe it. And if I don't go and do it and just kind of do it with my hands only, there's something, and I've talked about this in my blogs before, there is something magical also in the fingers by themselves. When you touch something with just your fingers, or anything in a way, your thumbs or whatever, there is a concentration. Just like when you were a kid and you had a magnifying glass and perhaps you were burning something with it or trying to burn an insect if you're crazy or twisted like some of us were. But what it is, it's the same thing in laser surgery. In laser surgery, you are putting something powerful, even like a hose or something, where you put something powerful into a smaller thing, like a hose goes maybe into a smaller situation and it pushes out faster. In the fingers, you are just touching, let's say if you were touching just your fingers and not your whole hand, there is more concentration of power. And I talked about in some of my blogs the infilling of the spirit that happens when you feel something. When you go from finger to finger, you've got one finger and then you feel that little current there, and then you move on to another finger and another one going on and so forth until you come around the horn and come back to your thumb. There is something in that burns out. I'm just going to say it flat out. I don't care what this stuff sounds like because it's the truth as I see it. It burns. I think what it's doing is burning out evil inside of you. And when I was doing the prayer today and not doing that, as I keep coming back to this more simplified prayer, thinking it's more natural, maybe it's more natural, maybe it's closer to what I used to do as a kid. All I can say is if I get stuck in a negative emotion, like a depressive feeling or a judgment against people, whatever it may be, I notice that it's hard to come out of that. Even if I'm in a normal prayer, I can be in prayer and still be feeling that stuff. And Fabian, I'm going to get to you in a minute because you're starting to fly here with your comments. So I can't read them at the same time, but I've got them here. I'm going to go to them in a minute, I promise. I lost my train of thought there for a second. But anyway, whatever that is, when I'm just doing this and don't go from finger to finger, I can stay in those negative emotions and just sit in them and they don't go away. There is a power, on the other hand, when I'm doing this from finger to finger by itself. Just one finger and then another finger is a power, and almost like it's cauterizing a wound. It's burning that negative emotion out of me. And there's times where one of my blog posts I was doing, it was getting a lot of flack. It was getting some people who really enjoyed it, but some people really hated me for putting it out. I was getting a lot of incoming stuff and people were mad at me and stuff. And I would tend to doubt myself at certain times. Should I have done this? Should I have done that? And my doubt would build on itself. And kind of like people would also tempt me to kind of doubt. And I would start getting these really bad feelings and stuff that just wouldn't go away. And just as a kind of a matter of self-defense, that's when I started going back to the meditation where I'm actually going from one finger to another and getting that. And that power in the finger was almost, at times, it's almost like electrifying. At times, it's almost nothing. I'm not trying to tell you guys do this and you're going to be doing circus tricks or something. I'm just trying to tell you there is power there. There is power there that is not available any other way that I've found. It's not available by reading the Bible as much as I love the Bible. It's not available by reading the same way by word prayer, anything like that. There are certain tools, spiritual tools. We talked about them last week, but that tool is the most powerful tool I have ever experienced. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to oversell it. I don't, if someone sits down, they don't get something and they're doing this prayer and they're not feeling it, or all of a sudden every bad habit they had in the world doesn't go away. Look, it took me a long time. Stuff burned out of me, but it's still taking me, every day. It's a new process. I pray the first thing in the morning and last thing at night, every night. I'm not a perfect person. People around me know I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to pretend that I am. But all I'm telling you is that I've never experienced anything in my life that is as powerful as this particular prayer technique. That's it. All right. I'm gonna go to comments here. By the way, we didn't promote anything today. Obviously, I'm the only one here today. Fabian's joined us here by being on the chat, and I'm going to get to you in a second here. But we didn't promote anything. I didn't, plan anything. I don't have any notes here. I know that probably on this live stream, because I didn't put it out only 20 minutes beforehand, 17 minutes beforehand, I realize I'm not going to get probably a lot of people even watching this stream. However, I also realize that this stream hopefully will be recorded and that this stream will keep showing. So perhaps what I'm telling you guys about today will keep going out there and it'll be able to help people. If I'm not explaining what I'm saying right, if I'm not explaining it in a good way, please let me know. Hey, you're not explaining this prayer very well. You guys are talking about how to pray, but you're still not really showing me how to. I hope I did a little bit in this today's video. Fabian, you are going crazy here with your comments. I don't even know how to get to them. I'm gonna have to look at them in order, and I don't even know how to respond to them because there's so many of them. The main thing is getting separate from your intellect. Yes, but there is a power in that. You're not just separating from your intellect, which I think you can do in a regular prayer without the finger thing. I'm saying finger thing, sorry. I'm not saying this very well. For a writer, I'm not using good words tonight. There is a power, an actual power. It's a light, it's an electricity, it has power. I'm just telling you, that's what it is. I wasn't trying to get on to say this message. That is the message. Fabian, let's see. I heard Roy Masters. He's the guy who, now people will say he rediscovered this. and I'm sure he probably did, that there were Christian mystics and different Christian people along the way that knew this stuff from the get-go, from way back, maybe even before Christ. I don't know. The Holy Spirit seemed to be around even before Christ, if you read the Bible. That's an interesting thing. I think my friend Jack or somebody mentioned that to me. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, there is a power here. Okay, he said, I heard Roy, meaning Roy Masters. I was telling him about he's the one who talked, or I don't know if you say reinvented the prayer or showed this technique. He is the one who reintroduced it to the modern world. Let's put it that way. I heard Roy say on an older recording of his show, he said that hypnosis is a shock initially. The vampires of life use that they have us. Yes, shock. This is the way that I got into the first way that I got into a sexual situation that I wrote about recently on my blog with a someone that I knew. I don't even want to get into the names and stuff right now, but there was a shock that he introduced a shock to me to get me to get involved in this, and it shocked me out of my normal way of seeing things. So if you can be shocked, I think what's maybe he's saying is that God is using the Holy Spirit or whatever it is to re-shock you. In other words, you've been shocked in one way, you've been kind of like traumatized, and the electricity is almost like maybe a reverse trauma or something like that. I'm just talking about my experience. I don't know. Okay. David said, yeah, it's a slow motion exorcism. Interesting. Yeah, it really is. Some people, I've heard my old friend Jesse used to say that he sat down and he just, become instantly free of sin. And everybody wanted to know how to do that. So they kept coming to Jesse to find out. Turns out I don't think that was real, as we've discussed and kind of seen, as if you're really watching, you can kind of see that wasn't real. I don't think it worked. Now, it worked that way for Paul on the road to Damascus. Jesus appeared to him and changed his life. He went from a Christian killer to the most important apostle of all times, right? So it is possible. I'm not saying what my ex-friend talked about is not true. I just don't think it happened for him. There's no real evidence that it actually happened for him. So when people see that in someone like that, they can get really kind of depressive, seeing that, oh, it works for him, but it didn't work for me that way. I still have this sin, or I still have this anger, or whatever. And it can discourage people, and you don't need to be discouraged. I have still angers that come up. I'm going to be flat out admit to you, even all the stuff I'm talking about, I'm not trying to say I'm a holy man. I'm just a regular person. And it didn't cauterize all of the anger out of me. It did a lot. It's really done a lot for me so far. And hopefully one day I have asked God to take away all my anger. I really hope that he does. I don't want to hate anybody, but I still have stuff in me. But I'm also seeing stuff that God is taking out of me, and it's unbelievable. All right. Fabian says, please realize I am obsessed. Fabian does get a little obsessive. So I like Fabian a lot, and I've known him for many, many years, decades and everything. So he's still going through stuff. He can get a little obsessive. I've told him that myself. And that can turn people off sometimes. So we have to be a little careful in how we approach people sometimes. It's like we have defects from the mind. I'm sorry, I'm just reading all this stuff here. It means when irritations come to the mind, we likewise can dismiss them. Yes. Defocus. Yes. Wow, baby, you are making me work tonight. I wasn't going to work tonight either. That's another reason I didn't want to come on Sunday nights and so on. And I was finding it was a little bit too much work to get ready for it, to promote it and all this stuff. Tonight, I realized it doesn't need to be much work. I'm not using a lot of bells and whistles tonight, other than the countdown. It doesn't need to be a lot of work. It's more important that we talk to each other and we pass on what we know if it's of use. Okay, yes, it's a love of light. Okay, I think I got one more here from Fabian. It was an ego lie for the world, but he believed it too. Yes, you're talking about our old friend. And again, this is not about him, and I'm doing my best to move forward from that stuff as well. I mean, I'm fine with it, but sometimes I see stuff or people talk to me about stuff, and it kind of makes me want to, maybe the word tempt me, whatever, to go back into some of that stuff. I don't want to. He's going to do what he's done. People can see what he's done. If you have eyes, I believe you can see there's something not right there. You can believe me or not believe me. That's up to you. I'm living my life right now and just moving forward. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to tell you guys tonight. We've already gone to what, 35 minutes. I think I got the point across what I wanted to do. And let me know too, and you can answer this or you can answer it in the future too. We were just kind of planning on moving forward and not talking about the prayer. When Martin was coming on and we had technical issues last week, I realized I didn't necessarily want to do that show without him because it was his idea, his title, How to Pray to God, and I wasn't necessarily feeling it. The only reason I came on tonight is because I realized something in prayer, that every time I go back to my more simplified prayer, it doesn't have the same power for me as the version that I learned from Roy Masters, Be Still and Know, FHU.com, 7-minute meditation, Roy Masters. That's how you can find it on YouTube. It just doesn't. I would love to say, and I know I'm going to be accused of, oh, you're following this guy. First you were following this guy, now you're following this guy. Well, you know what? Even when Roy Masters was alive, I really wasn't, I don't think, following him. I used to go to his church for a while and so on. It's not about following anybody. I don't want anyone following me. If you want to follow what I'm doing and you like what I'm saying and it has some meaning to you, great, that's fine. But you don't want to follow somebody. I did that. That's how I fell into my problems. I took a man and put him on a pedestal the way that only is reserved for God. So when you take a person and put them on a pedestal, anything they do, you can dismiss in your head. And so you don't want to, and the same thing with Roy Masters. Roy Masters was not a perfect man, but he found something. And some people would listen to Roy Masters. I used to listen to him on the radio and get his books and all that. He had great books, great radio show. But that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was what he taught. He taught a man to fish, right? He taught a man and woman how to fish. He didn't give them the fish. But sometimes he would give the fish by talking a lot of really wise things, and people were blown away. And I even heard people talk about, I just listen to your radio show, Roy. I just listen to your radio show. That's how I stay in the moment. Yeah, you can be in a meditative state if you're listening to radio or hear some words of truth. You can be in a meditative state, but you don't want to depend on another human being and their radio show or whatever it is to get close to God. That's insane. But that's the way that people are. We all kind of like, once we've fallen away from God, we have to worship somebody. So once we fall away from God, we're left with mankind or womankind. Some people worship women preachers. God help you if you do. But it doesn't matter if you follow somebody and then you put them on a certain level above yourself or below yourself. You can judge people as being below you, but you put someone above yourself, you're cooked until you wake up to that. And then, so it's not, Roy Masters' instructions on his meditation are just to use until you understand how to do it yourself. Then you throw away the meditation, you go, maybe every once in a while you might want to use it again to get back, like refresher course or whatever. But pretty much it's not about his voice or anything. Yes, he has a pleasant voice, all that stuff, great. Yes, he says great things, but just take the fishing pole from the man, okay? Roy Masters, God rest his soul, is now gone. He passed on, whatever that was, a year ago, or I don't even remember how long it was. But once he passed on, some people were broken up. I was hurt. I was sad. But other people really took it hard. Or when I came out with my blog, again, oldschoolus.com, that's my blog. When I came out with my blog and told the truth about the other guy, they were blown apart. Their whole world turned upside down. Why would it turn upside down? Because they thought I was a better person than I was, but primarily they thought this person was a sin-free person. They were free of sin, that they were free of all these things, and they were on a certain level. And so they put this person in a position, and therefore, when I told the truth about them, a lot of people just immediately wanted to attack me, but even those that believed me were so messed up in their mind, they couldn't get their sea legs for a long time. I understand it. I'm not putting anyone down for this, but I'm saying that the reason you couldn't get your sea legs is because you put someone in a position that was reserved for God alone. If you want to go listen to anybody, including this person should not be a Christian minister, by the way. Again, ever. They should not have a Christian church. But if you want to go listen to this person, go listen to them. He says some wise things. He may have introduced you to his silent prayer, which, if it works for you, God bless you. Okay, I don't want to dissuade anybody. But do not ever, and if you're doing it now, do not ever put another human being on a pedestal above you that is reserved for God. I'm just telling you, I will save you decades of trouble, people, decades of trouble. All right, I'm gonna take a few more comments from Fabian here. Let me see. Where are you, man? Let's see. Wow, man, you do a lot of comments. You should be a court reporter or something. You could get rich, Fabian. All right, let's see. He didn't. It was an ego lie for the world. Yeah, he believed it too. I already read that. Sorry. Is like we don't know anything as we are in the moment. Right. You don't need to know anything. The Bible, you don't need to memorize the Bible. You don't need to memorize anything, because you're getting direct contact with something very powerful that affects you on a tangible level. It's not an intellectual thing at all. But we are given to see without memory. Yes. He said it took another Jew. Yeah, I mean, I guess it did. You know, Jesus was a Jew and the prophets were Jews, and many of the most successful people in the world, bad and good, right? You got your George Soros people and things like that. Jews tend to go to the top of good and of bad too. Howard Stern's a Jew too, so there you go. But yeah, Jews have been very, very successful because they were God's chosen people. But this stuff is for anybody. I'm not a Jew. You may not be a Jew. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. What matters is just getting in touch with God and letting the magic happen. That's what I say. Okay, one more comment, or a couple more comments. I'm really not obsessed here. It is just when I'm writing here, it looks voluminous instead of talking. Okay, I'm kind of playing with you, Fabian. Don't mind me. I sensed he is in heaven, so I really wasn't even sad when he died. Yeah, I'm talking about Roy Masters. But again, God bless Roy, but it's not about Roy or anybody. It's not about his sons who are doing the best they can right now, carrying on his message. But it's not a lineage. It's not like it's a lineage where you got to be the son to the king or whatever. It's anybody can have this, and it's beautiful. So I don't know. I hope this helped you guys. I know that it was very, very short notice, so I didn't expect a lot of people in the chat. Thank you, Fabian, for coming in and helping out and getting the message out. And let me know. I was going to tell you guys. Let me know if you want to see, us deal with this more. I kind of walked away from it until today, and I realized, wow, I had to tell you guys this stuff. I really do have something to say here. But let me know if you guys want us to do something more or whatever. I don't know. I was getting back to my regular old school. I wanted to interview people. I want to interview people about all sorts of subjects. So we would deal with natural health, success, and freedom, oldschoolus.com. And I love to talk about many things. I mean, but I think that no matter what we talk about, there is an infusion of spirituality that hopefully comes through that, which helps, because even my old friend Jesse would say everything is spiritual. He was right. Everything is spiritual. So if you are hopefully seeking everything that you do, if we talk about Ukraine, you'll hear sometimes I might want to talk about Ukraine and Russia. I've been kind of fascinated with that lately. I want to talk about medical things. I'm not going to get into words here, or they might snatch me off the air. I'd love to talk about some of these things that are really, really important. I get that. I know Fabian's very interested in these issues as well. Very, very important, which I will have to put out in a different way. So I know I'm going to be putting out other kinds of content because that's what I do on Old School. We all have our own interests. I don't want to change anybody. I have my own interests as well. They may not be your interests, but hopefully we have a common interest here. And we're in very important times here, obviously, that it's so important that we get in touch with God's Spirit, with the Holy Spirit, and that Spirit can begin to work on us. We're not going to make ourselves better. I can't make myself free of anger and all the sin that we have, but God can do that. The Spirit can work this stuff out. It's not about what I can do or you can do. It's about what God can do. Anyway, Spiritual Eyes just came on. All right, cool. And said, I have to rewind. Well, yeah, and we'll be done with this, by the way, Spiritual Eyes, so that you can get the recording of this later as well. I really enjoy your martial arts interviews. I love martial arts. I've been involved in martial arts most of my life. I really enjoy them. And I have my friend Jack Tufinchin, who I'm going to be interviewing soon on a podcast. He's a very interesting guy, and he's kind of found a more spiritual approach as he has gotten older, which I'm going to re-interview him about his martial art Range 1. So yes, we're going to have some of that. We're going to have medical stuff. We're going to have more. I'm going to be interviewing a friend of mine, Brian Pombo, about Ukraine. He has a personal connection to it. He's been studying this for a long time. I'm going to ask him some questions that I have for him. There's a lot of things I want to do. And I think all of these things will be important. Oh, yeah, Fabian told me I should just use certain words. Right. I can use the word shot apparently, but not the B word about medical issues. Yes, thank you. So thank you, Spiritual Eyes. Thank you, Fabian. Thank you for anyone else who's watching who hasn't come into the chat. Thanks for watching today. I'm going to close out. Don't think, see. Okay. All right. He may be correcting me there. I may use the word think, but seeing is what it's all about. Anyway, that's it. That's all I want to say tonight. I hope that's been some use to you guys. We did under an hour or two. I didn't even know if I was going to do 5 minutes here. I didn't know how long it was going to need to be said, but we're on 47 minutes now. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. Let me know again if you guys want to see more stuff. If this is useful to you, if you want to see more stuff, if you want me to bring a panel back in, whatever. It doesn't have to be me. I mean, many people know this stuff. My friend Greg Gergen just came in the chat. He has been praying for many, many years. Good guy, solid dude. And he knows the stuff I'm talking about. Many people know it. Nothing special about me. I just happen to be doing it for a long time, and sometimes I rediscover stuff. Peter Schiff had some interesting things to say about Ukraine. They are well below Russia on the freedom scale. Interesting. Yeah, so again, we're going to be talking about Ukraine. Ukraine is far from over. And whatever happens in Ukraine, we want to learn this moving forward. We don't want to have the same mistakes made. There are things that are showing themselves right now in the world that have never been shown before. We are in an era of things being shown that we've never seen before. We're seeing behind the curtain now, and the people who are running things, I think, are scared because they can only go so far. I understand they want to lock us down, and perhaps they'll be able to get away with that, and we'll see Revelations play itself out. I'm not saying that won't happen. It looks like it probably will happen. But even when in Revelations it says that this stuff won't last forever, it can't last forever. It's like the blades of grass that grow out through the sidewalk, the cracks in the sidewalk. Dan Bongino has talked about this. You can't keep freedom down. You're not going to keep God down. So things are being exposed now. When Trump was in office, many things were exposed because of Trump. But you know what? On the flip side, you got a horrible president like we got now, and many things are being shown through him. We're learning either way. So what we're getting right now is we're going to learn. The ride will get bumpy. I'm sure it'll get bumpier. But what I'm showing you is a way to kind of transcend that, not to block it out, but to have power even amongst that. And think of your life here or your life even beyond. No matter what happens to us, we have a beyond life. We have a soul. So whatever we're doing here is going to keep moving forward. Anyway, okay. Fabian says, I don't think so, Greg. Putin is known, has murdered many. Okay, I'm not going to make this about, you guys can argue about Russia. I'm going to be talking more about it. Look, I'm going to keep it real simple for you about Russia and Ukraine for now. What's important is the people's freedom. Okay, let's talk about things we understand and agree on. What's about is about the people's freedom. The people are usually too asleep, and they get bad leaders who come in. Those bad leaders may be a obvious aggressor like Putin, who wants land and minerals and power and all these things. Or they may be these socialistic kind of people, these New World Order people. Oh, I didn't say a word that gets me off. They may be these other kind of people who have their own kind of way. And these systems are fighting each other. But we don't have to be part of one or the other. We need to be part of the freedom system that doesn't sit in either of these systems. The freedom is about freedom. And yes, I admire Zelensky in different ways. But you know what? He's really not for freedom. I'm for the people. I want them to be as safe as possible. I don't want to see people hurt, destroyed, civilians killed. I don't want to see any of that stuff. But there's nobody in the picture right now that I see, and he's certainly not him, who is really truly for the independence of the people. They either want to bring them back towards Russia or they want to bring them back towards the EU. And that's the truth. I've looked into this stuff. So it's all about real freedom, and I hope that you guys are about freedom. This talk tonight about prayer is a first step towards freedom. It's the first step, because then you can start to be an influence. When you have something influencing you this powerful, then you can influence others in a positive way. All right, I think I said enough. Oh, my friend Robert Campbell came in. Great. I missed some of the other guys here. I got what Greg said. I got some argument about Putin, nuclear war, and all that stuff. I get that. I get the end time stuff. And hang on a second, guys, because I just want to read my last stuff here, and then we're gonna be out of here. There's so much stuff popping up now that I can't read everything. Yes, the man is brave, but I don't believe he's actually on the side of freedom. Okay, did I just miss Robert Campbell, my friend? Robert's been a guest on here as well. And Robert, I always think about, and I'm going to bring on one of these days, I think, because he doesn't see all the stuff that I'm talking about the same way. It's not the Bible. He's not feeling it and all those things. I know all that stuff. I get it, but I had to say what I said tonight. I don't know if you heard me earlier, Robert. Replay this thing back, and I'll explain some of what I was talking about the prayer. So Robert said, if what you say is true, and I'm not saying it is not, then what is faith? What is faith? Well, I think generally faith is the knowing that God has your back, without necessarily seeing proof of it in front of you. You don't necessarily see. Okay. How this relates to the prayer, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to make it all come together and make it work in what I just told you today. I don't know. All I'm saying is faith, I believe, has to do with trusting God, no matter what you see. Okay. How come I'm hearing more on Roy than Jesus? Well, all I can tell you, Robert, on that is I learned something, a technique that was shown by Roy Masters. I didn't learn it from Jesus. Now, originally, I did learn from Jesus when I was a young man, I guess before the age where I was corrupted. I did learn directly from God, I will say, Jesus, whoever showed. I don't know. I don't know how that all works, and I don't always see which is it, the Holy Spirit. I don't know. All I know is when I was young, I did close my eyes at night, and I did have an experience where I could see. I was in a meditative position without doing any other things, and I was communing with God. And as I said early in this program, all I know is in getting back to that after the age of being corrupted and going back towards that, for me, I have had to go back to the prayer I learned from Roy. It's just the way I'd love to not say that. I'd love to be more traditional Christian about this. I hate to lose people who may not see it. I don't know what to tell you. I would love to tell you something different than what I'm here telling you tonight. This is what I found out, and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry. Maybe I can't get this across to my friend Robert here. And I understand it. He's not necessarily feeling what I'm feeling, seeing what I'm seeing, or he's hearing the names of men and not Jesus. I don't know what to tell you. I can only tell you what I get at the moment, and I don't know. All right. Let's see. Jesus, the word, can be hypnotic too. Churches do it. Yes. I was at a church today, and a friend of mine told me about it. This friend was a really cool guy. He's a young guy I met. A really decent young guy. And I like some of the stuff that they said in the church. But I also realized that in sitting in the service, and watching it, they were doing what they call worship, and it had to do with singing a lot of songs about worshiping Jesus. And I don't think that's right, to worship Jesus. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where Jesus said to worship him. So you can make a God out of Jesus. You can make an idol out of Jesus too. And Jesus himself didn't want us to do that. He wanted us to pray to God and not put him on a certain. Yes, Jesus is. I believe Jesus will come back. Yes, I believe Jesus will rule, and he will be ruling over everyone because God has given him that as his son. But still, I don't believe we're supposed to worship Jesus. Okay. All right. That's okay, Robert. Fabian said, Fabian, I love you, but I don't get most of what you say. I understand. I think we do need to be, maybe this is a good closing thing, is to say, we can love each other without agreeing with each other. I don't agree with every single thing that anybody says, whoever they are. Martin has beautiful things to say. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says. I don't agree with every single thing Fabian says. They don't agree with me on everything. Robert doesn't agree with me on a lot, and he's maybe more of a traditional Christian. I get that. I understand that. A lot of people out there are more traditional in their Christianity. I wish I could be too. I wish I could be maybe more like Paul said, where I'm in front of this group, I kind of become more of them. Maybe I'm not being smart enough, and I'm just not using enough wisdom. I don't know. I don't know how to use better wisdom. I'm just hoping that God will show me enough wisdom to get across what I need to. But yes, I wish I could say it in a more universal manner, but so far it's just coming out the way it is. And that's the way it is. So hopefully we can understand each other. We can see where some of us fall. We can see where some leaders and people like that have fallen, but yet we can see the good they did too. So I'm hoping that we can talk to each other. And if one of us says something that the other doesn't agree with, we don't just say, to hell with them, I'm out of here. None of us are ever going to agree with every single thing that our friends say. So anyway, maybe that's my ending point. I hope that we can have enough understanding to, as Bruce Lee said, we talked earlier, Spiritual Eyes, about martial arts, as Bruce Lee says, absorb what is useful. He would say, absorb what is useful, disregard the rest. I say that too. Whatever I'm saying here is useful to you, go with it. If it doesn't work for you, I can't make it work for you. I'm not you. All I know is what works inside of me and what I've heard other people say about works outside of me. Okay? We're almost on an hour here, believe it or not. I was not trying to do an hour show. We're almost hitting an hour anyway. So thank you guys so much for being with me. And again, you can go to oldschoolus.com for more. I'll take this live stream that I had no idea we were going to do today. I was going to do today. And I will put it on probably tomorrow. I'll post it on there. In the meantime, it will be up on YouTube, I believe. But it won't be up with the comments right away. Something about YouTube takes them some time to kind of process. And you may not see the comments that happened in the live stream until tomorrow sometime. But you will be able to see this live stream right away as it is right now without those comments. So Robert or anyone else that wanted to, was showing you some of the prayer stuff today. If you want to see any of that stuff that happened more in the beginning, then, go back and rewatch that part. All right. We're at 59 minutes here. I think we had enough. Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. And this was a nice surprise. I hope it was a nice surprise for you. Or if you're seeing this later, I hope that it is useful to you as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. And that's it. We're going out.